What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Campanario, owner of Next Level Entrepreneurs, where we help business owners break through barriers, accelerate growth, and get them to the next level. And I have an awesome guest. This is actually officially our first or my first podcast, and I'm super excited with the guest that we have. He's a longtime friend and an amazing entrepreneur and business owner himself, and that's Darren Williams. So Darren is from the Williams Group CPA firm, and he's actually been a CPA for the better part of 11 years. And I'll let him kind of get into it a little bit, but I believe he's actually owned and operated his own firm now for 5 years. So Darren, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, doing good. Glad to be here. This is kind of fun.
Heck yeah, man. I'm super excited to have you. As you know, we were talking about earlier, you've been a good friend and just an amazing business owner and a consultant, an advocate for me and my businesses. And so I'm just super excited to have you, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure working with you, and then just learning from all your expertise too. You've really figured out how to like dial in processes and the stuff that has helped us a lot too.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Well, so, obviously I kind of explained to everyone what you've been doing over the last, decade. And why don't you kind of elaborate a little bit more on that? What has the last 10 years and certainly over the last couple years been for you and kind of where you're at right now?
Yeah, for sure. So when I graduated high school, my mom's been in real estate for I'm 39, so probably 39 years. So as
Young
soon
buck.
Yeah, right. So as soon as I graduated high school, my original dream was to become a police officer, and my mom was like, "Well, you can go
Wow.
get shot at and make X amount of money, or going to real estate." And so I was like, "Okay, real estate sounds better." And
Yeah.
so I did that from 2003 to 2011. But during that time, people would always bring us tax returns. We'd always talk about financing, down payments, how they all got their money. But part of that, we always had to look at financials, tax returns, et cetera, to pass that on. And I just
Right.
really enjoyed that process. So 2007, I started to go back to school, graduated in 2011. And then from there, I worked for a couple of accounting firms locally. And then in 2019, decided to open up Williams Group. And so, yeah.
Nice. So, like, naturally, I always hear this a lot with like real estate. I mean, I was in financial industries for a while myself, and there always seems to be with real estate and banking, right? Just a common crossover with people opening up their taxes and sharing their returns, and there has to be like that kind of transparency. So, what do you think has always made you interested in kind of that? Aspect of getting into people's financials a little bit and kind of helping them along their way.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the easy part of it is, just the simple W-2 people that used to come in to buy a house,
Right.
really just making sure their budget was in control, right? Because a lot of buyers don't have money for down payments and et cetera, so you really have to kind of prep them. But definitely when the business owner came in and bought, just learning from them, seeing how they do things, understanding their financials at the time, and back then, right? They were the ones kind of that would walk me through things a little bit and get me educated.
Yeah.
So it was really just kind of fun to be able to feed off them, get educated, and just really neat.
So, I mean, at what point, what inspired you to really go into accounting like full time? I mean, because obviously there's a process to, go and get your license and make a commitment to say, okay, I'm going to be actually going down this path to becoming a
Yeah.
CPA.
Yeah, a couple things. One, when I was in real estate, I kind of enjoyed meeting with my CPA. We only met once a year, but it's more recommended to meet throughout the year. But that was really enjoyable to me. And then
Yeah.
also 2007, I think we got engaged in 2006. So just thinking long term into the future, what did I want to do? Did I want to be in real estate where you know, you're kind of tied to the phone 24/7 if that thing rings? Or did I want to go into being a CPA, being able to help guide businesses, help them with their finances, and I think honestly be able to control my schedule a whole lot better than being in the real estate field. And I figured long term that was just much better for the family, much better for the wife, just a long term goal.
So, I mean, you made the decision, give or take 10 years ago,
Yeah,
and are you feel good about it?
yeah, best decision ever. I wish I would have done it sooner.
So all the real estate agents that are listening, they're like, Man, maybe I should get become a CPA as well instead of going down this path.
Well,
But
one caveat to that too is, right, I also sold new homes. So I never
oh,
sold
okay,
the resale market. So with new homes, you had some limitations, right? You were capped on income based upon what the builder wanted to release. And then the schedule was really tough. You worked every single weekend, no matter if
yeah,
you were busy or not busy. I love working weekends, but I want to work a weekend when I'm busy. I don't want to
yeah.
have to work a weekend to sit at a, track and
Right. And you could work right now, with a lot of flexibility. You could be with your family, you could still be consulting, you could still be doing,
right,
your work at home or your office and not being tied right to, yeah, we don't need to go
right,
down the path of what a realtor's life looks like, but it's
right.
it's definitely
Yeah,
different.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
Um, I mean, so it's safe to say that you talk to a lot of business owners, I mean, probably daily, right? I mean, how many business
Yeah.
owners are you talking to every day?
I mean, every day I would say, maybe 5 to 7. But overall, we serve about 1,200 clients. So there's a lot
Wow.
that go in. And we have a team of 9 people. So it's not just me talking to them every day. It's the
Yeah.
whole team that gets that
Yeah,
communication
I
going.
mean, I've spoken to many of them, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
All of them are awesome. So you
Yeah.
have a good system in place for hiring, that's for sure.
Thank
Um,
you.
so 1,200 businesses. I mean, have you found that there's a certain niche or, certain type of industry that you're attracting or that you guys are servicing more than another?
I mean, definitely here in Kern County, you do get a lot of ag.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. But I would say some of my favorite industry really is like the service industry, because you can
Okay.
see a lot of those business owners start off kind of like how I did, right? You start off with just you or maybe one other person, and then you can really see it grow from there. And uh, since it's very relatable, I love serving and working with those guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, certainly Kern County, Bakersfield, Central Valley has its challenges, to say the least. But have you kind of seen something that is more common in your area, or just talking to business owners right now that seems to be, some of the, a common theme that people are facing today, or businesses are facing that are, you're kind of going through some challenging times? Anything that kind of comes to mind?
Mean, just across the board, things are more expensive, but as long as you understand your cost, right, your prices should be going up with that. So that
Yeah,
really shouldn't be like the biggest concern. But I see a lot of it. A lot of business owners, once they start to make some money, they start to have some income come in, they drain the business too quickly. And I think that is one of the biggest downfalls. They couple things. They don't either do financials until they have to file a tax return. So they could do financials
yeah,
12 months later, 13 months later. So they don't really see their income. They just look at the bank account and see, oh, I have some money. I can take it
right.
home or I can go do whatever with it. And they just drain the capital out way too quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I think as a young business owner, it's always exciting to see deposits going into the account.
Yeah,
But
for
yeah,
sure.
if you're not, yeah, I mean, if you're not understanding, that there's probably commitments or other things that cash flow is already, needing to go to, then yeah, it's going to create some
Right.
liquidity issues, right?
Yeah, for sure. And some businesses too are also seasonal. So they get this
Yeah,
big chunk of change, in a 4 month, 5 month period, but then they need to make sure they keep a good chunk of that change so they can take care of the rest of the year till that next season comes.
absolutely. So what you're saying is people need to stay on top of it monthly. They got to know where their budget is. You got to have a forecast or something in place, right?
Yeah,
Cash flow, understanding of your
yeah,
cash flow and knowing what's committed, what's not. Yeah, that's a
for sure.
pretty big deal.
And I don't say that just because, we're the accounting side of it. I say that because it's really, cash flow is the lifeblood of a business. Without it, there is no business.
Yeah. And I think, some people have found that out the hard way. I know I've probably started over, 10, 15 businesses myself, and some of them have been very successful and some have not been. And when you look back at those opportunities or businesses, I think most of the time it just comes back to, was there enough cash flow to keep
Right.
things rolling? And
Yeah.
that's, yeah, probably one of the most important things, like you said. So someone that wants to start a business, someone that is thinking about, hey, I want to really consider doing something on my own. What,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we kind of talked a little bit already about cash flow and things like that, but what advice would you give someone? Or even if there's maybe there's a someone doesn't know exactly what they want to do, what industry they want to get into. Is there something that you feel would be a great, you know, I don't know, opportunity for someone to get into a specific industry or just something in particular that you're like, hey, this is seems to be a growing trend or maybe an easy entry to start a business?
I mean, there's so many different avenues you can go down, right? So someone that
Right.
doesn't have a whole lot of capital to begin with, I would say
Yes.
start off with either service business that requires your time. That
Right.
way you can build up your capital. You don't really have a lot of expenses going out. Or start off just a low cost, business. Um, I have a brother-in-law that is actually he's starting a pressure washing company,
There you
but
go.
my father-in-law has a pressure washer, so he's borrowing the pressure washer. He has a truck
Yeah.
already, right? So very low cost, items. He can go, pressure wash a house, and I don't know what he charges, but 2 to 4 or 500 bucks, whatever it is, and he can start to bring that money in, build capital, and then once he gets the capital, once he sees like his consistency with customers and etc., then he can go, okay, let's go hire our first employee. Let's go see how that works, right? Uh, that first
Yeah.
employee I think is always the scariest, but as long as you hire right, man, that employee could be a lifesaver.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of it, if you kind of know what you want and you want to go buy an existing business, I think structuring the financing part of it, if you can't pay cash for it, is the best, right? Structure a deal with the owner instead of go getting an SBA loan and being stuck to these monthly payments. Say,
Yeah.
hey, seller, I will pay you out 50% of net profits every year until the business is paid off. That way, you're not stuck in a cash flow issue. If the business does really well, you'll pay that thing off quickly. If the business is struggling, then, seller will just get paid off slower. But it's all
Yeah.
based upon, net income. Because a lot of
Yeah. I mean,
people,
that's yeah, I was
yeah,
gonna say
go ahead.
that's I mean that's a creative way to acquire a business for sure.
Yeah,
Financing for a business probably another topic for another show, but absolutely. I mean, and you and I have had plenty of conversations about some of the startups that I've done and businesses that I've acquired, and a lot of that is an option. I'm going through a few things right now, as you know, and I'm considering some of those things, giving some opportunities for possible partnerships to buy in without them having to give me capital, but give me some of the profits if we share some ownership. So I think that's a great way. And to just go back to what you said about, you know, someone starting their own business, you mentioned, their time in exchange, right, for their lower startup costs, which kind of goes back to starting a service, and their time is that cost, right? So
yeah,
you don't have to give up anything other than time to start something that is service based. And I think that's a great point because a lot of people, I mean, go back to the simplest idea, 30, 40 years ago, starting, a kid starting a lawn mowing business, right? It's really they can get a cheap lawnmower and it's their time and they can
yeah,
build it up, from there. So same thing with the pressure washer. So I think that's great advice for someone that's looking to start a business is, what can you get in that's very low cost effective, low equipment startup, and it's more of an exchange of your time that you can put in the effort and time with a very low startup cost. So I think that's a great recommendation for sure.
right. Yeah, because I think, with all the stuff that's out there on social media and etc., you see a lot of these W-2 employees, which they're motivated, they're excited, and they're really good at that W-2 job, but they, get excited to go start a business and they go leverage a credit card, they go, take out a
Yeah,
family loan, and then they realize, man, this entrepreneur stuff is not as simple as it all looks. It takes a
right.
lot of time, especially when I'm working a W-2 job. I don't really have all these hours to commit to this thing.
Yeah,
And then they quit the business, but then they still have X amount of debt that
right.
is pointless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, man, it's good advice. And speaking of failures, I mean, has there anything that's happened to you, or maybe with certain entrepreneurs or business owners that you've been involved with that you like to share that's really been kind of uh, eye-opening or just a story that kind of resonates with you that where a failure happened, but maybe it turned into a success or something that you could share that was, along those lines?
Yeah, hiring. Hiring's a tough one for me. I love
Yeah,
people. I think I trust people probably more than I
it's
should.
too much, right?
Uh, yeah. So I'm probably not the best interviewer, right? So I've hired a
Okay.
couple people that we've had to let go.
Yeah.
We finally started like delegating hiring to another team member in the office, and I just kind of do the final interview, and that seems to help a little bit. And then also going back to delegating, my goal is to grow Williams Group where uh, the team is here. The team is to help all of our clients, all of our customers. And so, delegating sometimes too early or delegating and just not watching over their shoulder for the first, little bit to make sure that they are trained up, they are properly, able to do the job. Um,
Yeah.
there's it's what do you call it? Like micromanaging. I think, in the first handoff of, starting to delegate some work out, I think it's okay to micromanage. And then once you feel
Yeah.
that trust is there with them, then you back off and let them do their thing.
Man, I mean, talk about uh, some good advice. There are certain things that are much easier to delegate than others. No doubt
Yeah.
about it. I've had some experiences recently with that where honestly, for several years, I thought there is no one that can do it better than me. And just recently, I gave some responsibility to one of my lead employees to start doing estimates and having
Yeah.
them book and close business.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing that happened for the first like 2 weeks, this person was given full range to just go out and do it. They started booking more business than I ever did, and they got more money out of every client. And
Right.
I'm kicking myself in the ass, being like, why the hell did I not start this earlier? This person, so, I had so much emotion attached to whenever I give a bid, right? It's my business and I want to get the client. And, you're thinking about so many different things when you have more at risk, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I mean, it was interesting to me that, when you say, giving delegation to someone to hire employees or kind of changing up your process, that it sounds like it ended up working out better for you. And the same thing recently just happened for me. And so sometimes we're always afraid of delegating and giving someone more control, which means less control for you. But man, like sometimes it's the best thing the business, needs or can do.
Right, I agree. Because one, I think if the employee is motivated and excited to be there, right, they're excited for that trust that you just handed off to them.
Yes.
And then you have to be able to do that to be able to grow, right? The whole team has to be able to work together uh, to have any type of expansion.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. 100%. Um, just a few other questions for you. And that is, if you could look back at yourself, you're 39, so let's say 21 years ago, you're 18 years old, from where you were then to where you are now, do you think you would give yourself some different advice?
I would say invest earlier and more often and as much as you could, right?
In
Uh,
what? Invest in yourself or invest
it,
in?
in whatever you're comfortable with, right? So some people love
Mhm.
the stock market, some people love real estate, crypto, yourself, whatever. I think always yourself. Yourself is always number one,
Yeah,
right? You got to invest in knowledge, health, all that good stuff. Uh, but like, right, I think one of my biggest regrets is we bought our first house when I was 19 years old,
okay,
and I wish I would have kept that house,
yeah,
right? We sold it to buy
right,
another one, and all that kind of stuff. Investing into retirement accounts and those type of things. I wish I would have started that earlier. It's so much easier when you start earlier than later. We do it for
right.
our kids, um, and our kids will be well off by putting very little money away when they actually start working outside of our company.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, it's good advice, and I think hindsight's always 2020, and so it's always interesting to ask that question. But I think just to reiterate what you said, always investing in yourself is so important. One of the things that I overlooked was at a young age was thinking that I had all the answers, as all kids do,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
I wish I would have invested in more coaching, mentoring for
Yeah.
myself. And I think that's what I'm doing now at this stage of my life, such as, having an amazing consultant and, professional like you on, my team, so to speak, with my accounting and whatnot. And just there's other people that now are involved in my life that are helping me in my journey. And sometimes you can't get to where you want to be without someone that's already been there.
Right.
And I strongly believe that. Otherwise, it might take you a lot longer than you realize to get to where you want to be. So finding someone that's been there or that has the knowledge is going to only propel you and kind of accentuate your growth, accelerate your growth to, getting there faster.
Right. That's what makes books so good, right?
Yeah.
You can find someone's knowledge that they've had over 20 years, and you can get, a piece of their wisdom in a 3 or 4 hour read, right? I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm reading a book from John Maxwell right now. It's amazing. One of my favorite
I
authors.
am
But
too. I'm reading the Heart of a Leader or something.
okay, yeah.
What are you reading right now?
Today Matters. It's an older one. It's about 10
Okay.
years old, but it talks about, obviously what you do today and how it impacts the future and how important the discipline of the little tasks, that you're doing every day really can make such a huge impact on, tomorrow and
Yeah.
what you're planning to do in the future. So yeah, it's pretty basic, principles, but I think it's easy for someone to get motivated, but it's hard for someone to stay disciplined,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Any last words of wisdom you'd like to share about you and your team? And once again, we're speaking with Darren from Williams Group CPA in Bakersfield, California. Um, Anything you'd like to share about what you're doing, or any other advice you'd like to give out to entrepreneurs or someone that might be struggling in their business or wanting to start a business?
Yeah, I mean, just a little brief overview of our firm, right? We are a business and personal accounting firm, so we handle tax prep, tax planning. That's the most important part, I think, tax planning, right? And consulting, bookkeeping
Yeah,
needs. So, um, even if we're not doing your accounting or you're not even having a bookkeeper do your accounting, make sure you keep up on your financials just so you know where you're spending too much money, where your income's coming from, where your cash flow's going. It's just so important. Um, and the next part, I mean, as far as starting a business, investing, etc., I think you just have to do something. Uh,
yeah,
you know, either start investing, start to open up a business. There's nothing wrong with being a W-2 employee, but you still have
right.
to invest because, what do they call it? They call it intra intrapreneur, I think is the term that's
Mm-hmm.
going around,
Right, right.
right? And we all need those good people inside the company to help run it. Um, and so whatever your motivation is, get the education, get what you need to get the discipline to start to make those steps and follow through.
Absolutely. Great advice. Hey, man, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. I thank you for being my first official guest on my Next Level Entrepreneurs podcast show. So it's been an honor, and obviously look forward to talking with you down the road. But once again, everyone, this is Paul with Next Level Entrepreneurs, and this is our first podcast. Make sure you like and follow us to stay on top of everything that we're doing and people and great business owners and entrepreneurs that we are interviewing. So, Darren, once again, thank you so much. Have a blessed day. And everyone else listening, you take care and have a blessed day as well. We'll catch you on the next one.